Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLMs, that's anti-multi-level marketing, life, and some true crime content here on this channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to stick around. In today's video, I am bringing you anti-MLM content, so of course, just as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. Anti-MLM advocacy has been around for decades. The OGs, as I like to call them, of this movement are people such as Robert Fitzpatrick, Stephen Hassan, Doug Brooks, and many more who have been fighting the manipulative and deceptive ways of these companies and or cults for decades. Anti-MLM advocacy goes beyond YouTube and influencers. If you look at the r/anti-MLM Reddit, that was created on September 22nd of 2011. It will be 10 years this September. That's just wild. Recently, Counselor Haley even wrote a thesis about counseling MLM members, which I will leave linked below. It is a very, very great thesis, so I highly recommend taking a look at it. Anti-MLM goes way deeper than any video I'll ever make on this channel because I'm no expert, just an advocate. What I find so beautiful about this movement is that I learn something new every single day, whether it's finding out about a new MLM or new tactics that I maybe didn't recognize before. I was welcomed into this community with open arms at a time where I was afraid of possible ridicule and being told I was a failure and that I didn't work hard enough. My feelings and emotions were validated on that very first video I made in September of 2019. The amount of comments of support and love that I received was absolutely overwhelming. The amount of people who told their own stories and how they were targeted at some of the most vulnerable times in their life was eye-opening. I wasn't alone.
I do have plans on making videos on each of my MLM experiences, which is a total of 11 that I've actually joined. And it's like really shameful to me to admit, but I'm glad that I finally learned my lesson, and hopefully I can help others to not fall into that trap like I did so many times.
With that being said, now that we introduced that, because I wasn't sure if you wanted me to talk about that in this interview, so now that you've openly talked about it, because of your situation and that you're on disability and everything like that, have you gotten, I guess before you were very outspoken about being anti-MLM, did you get targeted for MLMs?
Just once. It was a former student of mine, which was kind of disappointing because now I know the person didn't pay attention in my class, but I actually remember I was in Michigan. I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was going to the University of Michigan Cancer Center. I was on a clinical trial. So I was taking a new drug. We didn't know what dose to give, what dose would be effective, what would be too much. You know, we're figuring all of that out. And I get a message, and first it's, hey, I'm thinking about you and just checking on you, how you doing? And so, I get those occasionally, and I answer. And then the next one's about the product, and they didn't mention the product's name, but it's Plexus. How if I was interested, they have a product that would reduce the side effects, and I'm like, we don't even know what the side effects are. Like we're figuring that out. Like I'm a human guinea pig.
I've never met so many people who have such passion and empathy. We are helping people every single day.
Monica, well, my name is Rachel. I'm from Georgia, from Northwest Georgia. And thank you so much for having me on your channel. And
Thank you for coming.
I thoroughly enjoy your channel as well as the other anti-MLM. Like this movement, I really think is amazing and much needed. And I want to encourage you and everyone just to continue what you're doing because this is important. It's way more important than I think people realize. And I don't, my husband says I'm really dramatic. He's like, you're so dramatic. I'm like, I'm just really passionate is what I am.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate. And I'm passionate about this particular issue because it has impacted, I really feel like my entire life. from childhood, because as I shared with you before, it's been in my life, my whole life. Being from a small town, it's saturated with Mary Kay, Avon, and among many other pampered chefs. And so I grew up around it, and it was kind of a part of life. And then as I got older, I didn't join one until I was older. But so just to tell my story and my personal experience, social media really was on fire in my teens, like my late teens, early 20s, and my life was just lived out loud for everyone to see. And I wasn't living the best life, and I had issues with, I had a drug issue. I was partying and doing all these things, and just everyone knew it, everyone saw it, and it was just all over the place, not to mention going to jail and that being public record, you know. So everyone knew my business. And then in 2012, I just, let me back up just a little bit. During all of this, I got involved in the sex trade industry, and that is a whole story in itself. But it was a very dark time for me, and I was like a zombie on this, a zombie walking. I had lost all touch. You know, I had lost touch with reality just completely. So, in the midst of all that chaos and craziness, I met an awesome group of ladies who helped me get out of the situation that I was in. And so, 2012, my social medias were shut down. I was like, I went to rehab for 9 months. And so, I was completely, I mean, out of, nobody spoke to me. I didn't call anybody except for my mom. I was so focused on recovery, like so focused on recovery. And so then about a year goes by, and realizing what I had been through, that I really had a story to tell, and I had a testimony to tell, and to give other people hope, which is what I'm doing here too, Monica. Like, I want to share this just because, and I'm like, show my face, I don't care, because I want people to know they can relate to me. I'm far enough removed from it, you know, because I think when we share when we share our stories, that's really what gives people hope. And so I chose to share my testimony and my story, and to reveal the ugliness of the sex trade industry and human trafficking, and really what that is. And it's more well known and talked about now, but it wasn't as much then. So with that being said, my story was featured in a book, and I spoke publicly. And then Jada Pinkett Smith contacted me to do a documentary with her about human trafficking. So I did that, and then that was about the time that I reactivated or started a completely new Facebook and Instagram. So then it blew up, and everybody was like, "Oh, there she is." So during this lifestyle change, I gained 60 pounds. I looked, I looking back, I didn't look terrible, but when you come off of drugs, if you're familiar, your body is just, it's in shock. And so you gain weight, you get acne. And although I was definitely more healthy, my appearance had changed. I used to have like bleached out long blonde hair, and I had cut it all off. I mean, my appearance had completely changed, obviously, because I wasn't, and two, I didn't want to look like that anymore. I didn't want to be 100 pounds and stringy blonde hair. So anyways, I had just different people reach out to me, and I couldn't have been a bigger bullseye target for an MLM Hunbot. Okay. So I had a son in the midst of all that craziness I was telling you about. And when I got my life back on track, I'm trying to get my feet on the ground, get a job. And someone had actually gifted me some money, enough money to get on my feet, like a down payment for an apartment, whatever. And so I had that little savings, and I was making minimum wage at 40 hours a week working at a health and wellness gym. So I got my membership free, so I was able to work out and all that. But I had a little, nest egg of money that I was sitting on to get on my feet. And so when the coach, the Beachbody coach, it was Beachbody, contacted me, like I said, I couldn't have been a bigger target because I'm trying to get a hold of my health and lose that extra weight and be financially free for my son. And I was just like, I'm all about it. I will say this though, I never had any intentions of recruiting because I knew that I could have never recruited somebody like me ever. I would have never told a mother, a single mom, you need to spend the little tiny bit of money, extra money you have to become a Beachbody coach, or any, and that's disgusting.
The amount of messages and comments that I get saying someone left their MLM because of my content or other creators' anti-MLM content in general is amazing. Recently, I shared an Insta story of someone who finally decided to leave Rodan and Fields. Last night, I had a conversation with a current rep who somehow stumbled on an older video of mine. She was telling me about how she has one foot out the door, but she's still a little worried about leaving. This rep has approximately $6,000 worth of inventory. She's been with the company for almost a decade and has not made a profit. I helped her just by steering her in the right direction on what to do if she wants to leave. Along with that, I told her about what feelings she might go through after she leaves and how the anti-MLM community is here for her to start her healing process. If you watched my interview with Kim several weeks ago, she too stumbled on anti-MLM information accidentally and told part of her story on my channel.
So I had never even heard the term MLM. I certainly didn't know that there was an anti-MLM movement. And I do have to say that what you guys are doing so important, because I went back and forth, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, maybe this is not for me, but then maybe I can make it work. Maybe it's just a company. Maybe if I try with a different company, the results will be better. And then I was on YouTube actually watching a coaching video, and I happened to stumble across, I don't know why, I guess because of the coaching video that I was watching that was tied to MLM, which, the algorithms and all that stuff. So it led me to an anti-MLM video, and I was like, well, what's this? What's an MLM? So I just was like, let me check it out. And then I was like, oh my God.
The CEO of Tory Bell even commented on a recent video of mine. We are catching people's attention, and that's why we need to keep going. We need to keep spreading education about the harms of these companies. A lot of creators share horror stories for a reason. They do that to be a voice for those who want to be kept anonymous, whether that be due to them being afraid, ashamed, or just wanting to stay private. Think about that for a second. There are men and women out there who are afraid or ashamed to tell their story. If MLM companies aren't predatory or horrible business models, why would anyone feel they can't speak up about their experience? People within the anti-MLM movement have received countless cease and desists. On YouTube, videos have been taken down or blocked in certain countries because the individuals being spoken about were that upset that someone was bringing a different perspective as to what they were doing. A lot of anti-MLM advocates have received tons of hate and abuse from pro-MLMers. I've had people question my intelligence and say that I probably didn't even graduate high school, while on the contrary, I have an MBA. Or that I'm so miserable in my own life, which is why I bring other women down. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It doesn't take rocket science or a business degree to know MLMs are terrible. The point I'm trying to make is, why would I speak on a topic that brings such hateful comments? It's not because I'm a hater. It's because I want to keep spreading education in the hopes that I can help someone. I also understand that the majority of this hate exhibited from pro-MLMers is thanks to the indoctrination they undergo while working for these commercial cults. These reps take the anti-MLM movement as a personal attack because they can't see the harms of these companies. Some of these reps are under the guise that they are part of a sisterhood due to the love bombing that goes on behind the scenes. Toxic positivity clouds their critical thinking. Sadly, there will be people who try to capitalize off of any movement, off of any community, maybe even try to bring it down. This isn't a new concept. There will be those who exploit victims or viewers for their own financial gain, and quite possibly for popularity. My heart breaks for the people who have ever invested their time and money into a person who used this movement for their own gain. Your emotions are valid, and do not allow anyone to gaslight you into thinking otherwise. That's what MLM companies and cults do. One person is not the gatekeeper of anti-MLM advocacy, nor do they hold power over an entire movement. We have a long way to go to get the attention of the proper officials and regulators that can make serious changes. One person will not ruin the integrity of what so many have worked so hard for decades. Keep fighting the good fight, and I'm so proud and grateful to be part of such an important movement surrounded by so many incredible people. My why for being anti-MLM is to help people and to spread education on the manipulative and deceptive practices that we see every day. It's to prevent people from getting into a dangerous amount of financial trouble. It's to help ex-reps heal or current reps get out. If I'm going to be labeled as a hater or a mean girl by someone who exploited this movement for their own financial gain and then used that very same money for the thing we stand against, I will wear that label proudly.